Hi, everybody. This is Rebecca Zullo from IdeaStream in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm here to share with you this presentation on Google Forms for educators, learning how to customize and utilize Google Forms. As I said, my name is Rebecca Zullo. I'm an instructional technology specialist from WVIZ IdeaStream in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm happy to share with you how you can use Google Forms for various school purposes. Here's some information about this session. If you would like a link to this presentation, there is a website here, bit.ly/gforms for eds. Also, if you have any questions about this session, in the bottom right corner, you're going to see this Google Doc, bit.ly/gf113 questions. You can go there to submit your questions and also to find out how you can apply to get credit for today's session. So, what are Google Forms? Google Forms are an educator's assistant used to collect and manage information and data, digitally, of course. And we're going to talk about many of the different things that you can do with Google Forms in this session. So here are just a few of the uses of Google Forms. So it's a digital tool that can be used for bell work, discussion and questioning, formative assessment, checkpoint tracing, quizzes, field trip information and choices, order forms, URL sharing, data entry simplification, sign in and sign out, contact information, event registrations, event feedback, RSVP, voting, and more. Let's view some sample forms. All right, let's take a look at this first one. Okay, this is a form called Are You Finished? And with this form, this is one that I created. It's just a quick question that you could ask your students. Are you finished with the pre-assessment? That way you could just look at the results and then you would know when to move on. Now, this is in the editing format right now. If you wanted to see what it looked like in the students' view, you just go up here to where you see the eye, where it says preview, upper right corner, and click on that. And it shows you what it looks like for the students. Now, you can share this with them many ways, and we'll talk about it later, but this is just a real simple one question. Okay, let's take a look at another one. Okay, this one is an example of how you could use it for a daily check-in and practice. So let's take a look at some of the questions on this one. The students put in their first and last name. They choose what class period of the day it is and ask them how their day is going. It's just a quick way to check in with them. Anything they want to share about their day. Here's a question on a scale of 1 to 5. How do you feel about? And then you could fill that in. What do you hope to learn today? There's a quote. No question that goes with that one, it looks like. And then you would basically be assigning the daily practice. So this one's really not a question. It just tells them what you'd want them to do. So if you wanted to see it from the student's point of view, you could click here once again. I won't do this on every one, but it just depends on how the teacher has set it up. So this one, the teacher's kind of broken it up. I'm just going to quickly show you what the next page might look like. I'm just going to choose one, drop down. How's your day going? Is there anything you want to share about? That one looks like it's optional because it doesn't have a red asterisk, so I'm going to skip that one. And so on. All right, so that's how it looks. I'm going to close that out. All right, let's take a look at another sample. Here's a sample of an exit ticket. It's a 321 exit ticket, but it's digital. 3 things I worked on today, 2 things that I will be able to use right away, and 1 question I still have. Let's take a look at this sample. This one is a field trip sample about a Disney trip. It's contact information. So student name, what grade they'll be in for the field trip, what they're a member of, their cell phone number, and so on. But this was just information that the teachers needed prior to the field trip. This one, an ELA teacher came up with. It's about how to assess websites and other sources for credibility. This one is a practice quiz for art And on this one, they answer some questions, and at the bottom, they pop in their file, which is a digital file. This one is on feedback for a project, what they're learning, and what about this project do you think was good, and so on, and suggestions. So those are some samples. You might ask yourself, is there a Microsoft tool that can do what Google Forms can do? Well, I used to say no, but now they do have a new tool called Microsoft Forms, and it's very similar to Google Forms. So how do you create a Google form? Let's go to our Drive, and I'll show you how to create a Google form. So once you're in your Drive, what you're going to do is click on New, and then you're going to go down to More, and then click on Google Forms. And we're starting with a blank form rather than with a template. The first thing you want to do is add a title, and you can either add that title here in this section or up here in the upper left. So I'm going to call this Practice Form for Digital Learning Day, or DLD. And I'll maybe even put a number 1 with it. All right, now here you can put a description if you'd like to. Once you click up here, it will take on the same name. So watch this, okay? Once you click there, so you don't have to write it twice. If you want to add an introduction, you might tell the students or whoever is going to be filling out this form, what is the purpose of your form? So I'll just write the purpose of this form is to, and that's where you would fill that in. The next thing you would do is you'd want to add a question. One of the things you might want to add is a name. So sometimes I just make it very simple, and I'll just write first name. Now, notice how Google automatically changed this to a short answer, but if you click on the down arrow, you're going to see the different types of questions that you can have, but first and last name is a short answer. If you need to have that answer and it's required, then just click right here and make it required. Now, the next question is almost identical, and that's last name, so I just click duplicate. And so I will put here, instead of first name, I'll put last name. And that one is still required, and it's still a short answer. All right, let's try another question type. Let's hit plus, and maybe let's try a multiple choice question. You can put in any type of question you want, but I'm just going to put a simple one in, like, how old are you? Now, since it's multiple choice, I would go here, and let's say you were doing, you know, a 7th grade classroom. And you might say 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old. If you want, you can add a choice for other. So if they don't meet any of those, you could add other. Is it required? Yes. Always make sure that there's an option for every student. So if all the students don't fit into those categories, make sure you add other. Okay. And again, that one is required. Let's try another question type. Let's try a checkbox question, like, what pets do you have? So we're going to do checkboxes because they may have more than one. So we might put in cat, dog, no pets. Now, kids can't always tell the difference between checkboxes and multiple choice, so I'll put here, check all that apply. That way they know they can choose more than one. Find the value of X. And I probably should have selected picture right here. Just go there, click browse, here, click open. And so I'm uploading a picture from my computer. So that's how you'd add an image. If you wanted to add a video, you would click here and give the URL of the video. You can also center the picture if you click on these three dots and click center. And you can also alter the size of it if you like. Now, if you want to make it look different or look better, you would go up here and click on Customize Theme. And you can choose a color, you can choose an image. Let's choose an image. I like that one. Click Insert, and that will become your banner. It automatically will change the color, but if you want a different color, you would just choose here. Okay, I kind of like that color, so I'll go with that. All right, now if you want to see what it looks like from a student's point of view, once again, you're going to click up here for preview. And this is where you can see what it looks like. You can also try it if you want by putting in a name. Sam. And maybe he has a dog and a reptile. And then down here, let's say he solved it correctly and got 8, and then click Submit. Okay, and then you can go back as the teacher and see what that looks like. And we'll take a look at that. You can see there's one response here, and that would be the response that I just put in there. All right, so let's go over how to view responses. If you click here for View Responses, it will show you who's responded and what they have so far. And this will change into a circle graph that has various colors as more and more students respond. Now, if you respond yourself, just so you can see how it works, you can go up here and click to delete all responses if you want. You can also download the responses, and there's some other choices. When you're done taking responses, you can always click that. And there are some other choices here as well. You can go question by question and take a look at it that way. And you'll be able to analyze the data. And the same thing with individuals. You can go from one individual to the next. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you about responses, which is one of the coolest things. And I'll show you that in a minute. Why don't I go through and delete that one extra item that I had. If I click here, I can click the trash can and that'll go away. Okay, let's go back to the responses. And I wanted to show you that when you click on this icon is for Google Sheets. It will automatically create a sheet for you, which is such a great feature. So you click on that, it'll create a new spreadsheet, or you can select an existing one. I usually make a new one and click Create. Notice how it automatically created it, and it has the questions up here and then the answers down here. And as your students fill this in, notice it automatically timestamps it, and then it'll fill it in. And then you can do whatever manipulations you want with this spreadsheet the way you always do. The contact hour code for this presentation is GF113. Please write that down, GF113. I did not go over font style. Let's take a look at that. Let's go back here. And I believe that's here. Yes, right here is font style. And there's not a lot of choices, but let's say I chose playful. It would change everything to playful. All right, so I wanted to show you how you can customize these forms. If you go up here to the settings, these 3 tabs are very important. For general, if you want to collect email addresses, you can. If you only want each person who completes it to have one response, make sure you click that. If you want the respondents to be able to edit after submit, click that. And if you want the respondents to be able to see a summary of their responses, click that. I seldom will click this one. All right, so those are important. Make sure you click Save. Also, for presentation, one of the things I like to do is show a progress bar, especially if I split up the questions. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and then also how you can split things up. And if you want them to be able to submit another response, depending on what you're doing, you would click that. And then your confirmation message is going to be pretty basic, but sometimes I will write, "Thank you for taking the time to complete this survey or this quiz or this form, and then you click Save. Going back to the settings, there's also a Quizzes tab, so let's take a look at that. On the Quizzes tab, if you want this to be a quiz, you would click this, and then some of these other choices will come up. And this is what you get to decide. Do you want the student to be able to see their missed questions, the correct answers, and the point values? If not, uncheck those. And will you release the grade immediately or afterward? So that's up to you, and then you would just click Save. If you do choose that it's a quiz, then you would have to put correct answers next to the questions. You'd have to indicate which ones are correct. Okay, so now I wanted to show you how to split it up, which I like to do. Probably after first and last name, I might want to add a section right here. So what you do is you click on it and then you add a section. All right, so now those two will be on the first page. Okay, so there's their age. And maybe when you click here, you might want to split that up. So on this one's pet information. And maybe here you might want to split it up again. And this would be a geometry question. So I might just type geometry. You can put no title in if you want as well. All right, so now let's look and see what it looks like from the student's point of view. If you click here, and I'll just put in some random answers. So Tim, oops, spelled that wrong. Tim Marco, just making up names here. All right, how old are you? I'm going to say 12. But see how it's split up and it's showing the progress bar? What pets do you have? How about a hamster? And then what they would work that out and then choose an answer. And click Submit. Notice how the response is now, thank you for taking the time to complete this survey. If you go back to the teacher's view, you can now see that there are 2 responses. Let's say you had multiple classes and you wanted to make multiple copies of this, because you probably wouldn't want to put all your classes into the same quiz because then they'd all be on the same spreadsheet. In that case, click the 3 dots right here and then go to make a copy. And then you would make a copy and maybe you'd put period 1, period 4, period 7. And then it would be exactly the same. You can also add collaborators if you have a co-teacher. And there's some other things here for preferences if you wanted to customize that. All right, but let's go over how to share it. What you can do is click Send. Now, when you click Send, there are some choices. You can send via email or with a link. And if you have your class emails all grouped together, you could just put in period 1 and send it out through email. You can put the link on the board. You could make a QR code using the link, or you can push these out easily through Google Classroom. And then you can see it just pushes the form out that way. You can do this with parents too. If you're using it to collect information from parents, you can use it for order forms. You can use it for so many different things. So let's review what we've done today. So what we did was we learned how to create a form, how to customize those forms, how to use them in a variety of ways, how to create and access the sheet that corresponds with the form by clicking on the icon, how to make it a quiz and alter the settings and make copies, and then share forms with others. I want to thank you for listening to this presentation. I hope you learned a few new tips for those of you that have already used them, and for those of you who never use them, that you could see how easy they are to set up. If you would like a link to this presentation, go to the website address that you see at the bottom at www.bit.ly/gforms4eds. You make that a little bit bigger so you can see it better. Thanks so much for being with us today, and I hope you got some new tips that you can use so that you can use Google Forms in better ways with your students and with your community, your school community, and your community at large.